Well, folks, it's Wednesday night. You know what that means? It means our 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons game here in Roll20. If you watched the last episodes, our brave adventurers ended up going up to the monastery, investigating some areas outside the monastery, and had a pretty rough time of it. So they decided to come back to town late in the afternoon here to try and rest and recuperate and get their strength back so that they can investigate some more of the monastery later. So what are you guys and ladies going to be doing as you have a few hours left in the day?
Well, Chris is going to be heading over to the barracks, and he's going to be asking the guards any questions of how to defeat these monsters a little easier, find any weaknesses, maybe know any other monsters that are, that have been spotted that he should know about, things to avoid, things like that.
Um, they basically tell you that they've come across some shadow type creatures that don't seem to be hit by normal weapons very easily, and basically just securing the area. They've seen all kinds of weird monsters roaming around, but none of them are willing to risk life and limb to go in to the darkness. Um, so there's not really a lot of help there, other than they keep telling you things like that they see things, shadows in the distance. They see humanoids walking around there. Um, off in the black area.
Right.
But no one's really going out there to investigate and try and find out what's been going on. It's just too dangerous. They come across, you know, things that aren't normally there, sort of like, statues that all of a sudden come to life. Trees that manipulate and start seem like they're moving through the ground. Flowers and stuff that seem to spit acid, things like that.
Okay.
And as Chris is doing this, what's Liliana want to do?
Liliana is going to be asking around to see if any scholars that used to be at the monastery are alive and in town somewhere, and she's going to try and meet up with them to discuss the items in her bag.
Okay. Um, why don't you give me a. Let's see, what's a good skill here? I got rid of Streetwise.
Oh,
Oh,
there's a description in the book. I can't remember which one it was.
Investigation.
I think it was a charisma thing.
It's not intimidation, not deception. Performance, persuasion. I think these are the only charisma ones. Skill checks. Um. Yeah, why don't you give me an investigation, I guess. Let's try that.
Alright. Oh boy.
Um, as you guys come back into town, you notice there's, again, this village that maybe has 1,000 people in it. It's not a very big village. Um, as I mentioned, when you first arrived and what was been going on, a lot of people are missing, disappeared without a trace. Some people have just left on some of the boats to get out of town. Some people have traveled to get out of town. It's kind of almost not a ghost town, but it's getting to the point where there's not a lot of people in town. But you are able to find one of the monks that had worked up there in the monastery. Um, and he's at one of the shops that you finally track him down. And so he asks you, what you're looking, what kind of information can he help you with?
Well, I'd like to know, Well, first of all, we have in our exploration of this place, we've encountered trees that move. We've encountered a golem that seemed to be poisoned by the very earth it was surrounded by. We've encountered acidic slugs, and we've encountered strange plants and this brownish ooze or muddy water or something. And I'd like to know if any of that was
Before the earthquake, none of that was there. This monastery was built 100 years ago, when the dwarves first settled the mining colony, as a peaceful study to nature. And his job there at the monastery was just labeling all the different nature specimens, and kind of inventory and management, stuff like that. But he can assure you that there was nothing living up there other than the creatures that they had become friends with. When you mentioned the stone golem that you had come across, he asked you what it looked like and what it talked like, and basically they had befriended this thing to kind of help understand how nature interacts with different creatures. He also mentions that they had some water elementals as well, and asked you if you had run across those creatures made of water that magically have life form.
No, we hadn't run across any of those water elementals.
He mentions the fact that there's creatures up there in the monastery that were there for the study to try to find out what's going on with nature, and some of them are, he kind of hesitates a little bit, and he says, yeah, I guess, just the fact that, some of the elders really studying some of these creatures for whatever purposes, but some of them weren't all natural. Some of them were altered or kind of ruined, as he says, by the forces of nature. He talks about creatures that like had multiple different body forms that were demented, and kind of like the head of an eagle and the body of a lion. There was, other experiments going on to try to understand how nature interacts with one another. But he's very kind of almost gets aggravated with all this questioning. Like he doesn't want to really talk about what was going on up there.
I understand that your research was in the best interests of was in the best interests, and you were set to gain knowledge rather than pervert any sort of natural order. But there's no way that these creatures could have been products of your tampering, could there?
No. There's, the things that are there now weren't there before, and obviously there's something much more dangerous and different going on than what they were doing.
Well,
Something
Lily,
unholy, something almost like the essence of the whole earth has been changed and demented, which,
yes,
he has no idea. I mean, maybe some of the higher ups might have had some more information than that, but my job was just categorizing the different wildlife and the different creatures and the plant life, and studying them and writing all the information down and what they do and how they interact, and learning from them, because how are we going to live as a species if we don't understand how they can live as a species? That was his goal, anyways.
Uh-huh. And as he mentions the elders, Liliana will sort of open her pack and rummage around and set a, uh, a big branch of a tree, a rock, a wrapped up piece of cloth, and a water skin on the table and say, I've actually taken some samples, and I know you couldn't possibly discern what has corrupted these things, but do you know of any of your elders that are even in the area?
He says that he hasn't seen any, but he can almost assure you that if the elders were there, they wouldn't have left the monastery. So after the collapse, they might be, underneath the monastery or whatever, but they wouldn't have left the monastery. They were that dedicated to their craft. And he hasn't seen anyone in town except for a couple of the others like him, some of the, just the worker bees.
I see. Well, is there
He
any,
is he is quite interested in the objects. He's kind of picks up the rock and he's studying it and looking at it and asks you questions about it. Where you got it, what it was doing there, and so you kind of give him the lowdown and about finding the
yeah,
golem, and you talk to him about the slugs and everything, and he's like, really, I've got some notes that I was able to take out of the monastery. Let me analyze these, and maybe after a couple of days I can give you some kind of information. But it just looks
oh,
like
would you? That would be marvelous. Thank you.
maybe I'm not sure I'll be any help, but it would be
Any insights you would grant us would be more than welcome.
okay. So he kind of takes the items and puts them in a sack and um, asks you
And,
where he could meet with you there and find out, where you're going to be located.
yeah, and we're at the Riverside Inn, correct?
You are in the Riverside Inn, yes.
Yeah, so Liliana will mention that they are staying in the Riverside Inn, though probably early in the morning till dusk, or till almost dusk, they'll be away in the monastery, so either before most people are awake or before the sun has its final breath, he should come over and see what we're doing. She wouldn't suggest he come over by night just because it's night. But before Liliana will leave, she will ask if there was anything new happening in the monastery before the earthquake started happening.
Um, yeah, he kind of says, the back part of the monastery was kind of been taken over by the dwarves, and they were being real secretive about everything, but they were using the back building to uh, to drill into the ground to help build tunnels and stuff. And as they were doing this, the elders there at the monastery were very aggravated with this whole situation going on, but they didn't have any control over it. So, because it kind of went down in the dwarven town. But
I
after
see.
after the earthquake happened, um, it was basically locked up at that point, and no one had access to it. No one could get in and find out what was going on. But he was telling you it was making this weird sound, this kind of grinding sound. And the elders kind of locked that back area up before they told him and the others to leave, to kind of stay away from it and keep out, because they were afraid of what might be coming from that area. By the way, the guy introduces himself as Cricus.
Cool
All right,
name.
and Liliana will obviously reintroduce herself and shake his hand politely.
Absolutely. All right, so he's gonna see if he can analyze. Again, he doesn't think anything that they have done. I mean, the stuff that he talks about, you've heard legends about things such as these creatures and, creatures that are manipulated into other creatures. And, basically reassures you that, the monastery was, I mean, its original purpose and what they were doing was the peaceful study of nature. And, sometimes you can kind of cross the line a little bit, but it comes down to, if you don't cross the line, you don't learn that information type thing.
Yeah, and Liliana will reiterate that there is something much bigger going on than just a simple monastery. So he shouldn't worry about any reprisals or anything. She's not here to try and harm their work because she does think it is for the good of all.
Well, he tells you he's just befriended one of the people in town, and he's kind of staying over in this. Where's my free hand? He's kind of just staying in this house over here with these people. So, he'll be around that area or in town, as far as he knows. But if he doesn't come across anyone or learn anything, he'll be sure to look you guys up.
Well, thank you.
And Piro, what were you gonna do?
Microphone was muted. I'm gonna go around town and try to figure out any information on the key ring and the mirror that we found on the beach.
Okay.
That we brought.
All right. Give me an investigation check.
Alrighty.
There we go. Took a while to pop up. All right. After searching around and just asking around, you had found out that it looks like these items were just stolen from some of the people in town. Look very similar to some of the items that different residents might have. Um, the storekeeper there that you're talking to kind of says, possibly might have sold that item to somebody in town a couple years ago. But, he's willing to give you a couple gold pieces for the lot if you want. Because more than likely these people are either gone or dead anyways, so...
Well, all Pero has on him right now is a key ring. I think it had keys on it. So, I'm not gonna
Oh, the
trade
key
anything.
ring. Okay, the key ring, he says obviously it's for some specific locks. Probably maybe a building in town. You might want to talk to I will tell you who he is here in just a minute, as I've got a whole page of guys here.
Hey, Kirk, sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
Piro, you also have my mirror on you. If you don't
Yes, I do. I actually do have it on me then.
This guy's been mentioned once or twice, but Advisor Fallon, he's kind of the keeper of the town, the protector of the governor, anything that has to do with law and order is Advisor Fallon's, and his, whoever he kind of rules over.
And
So
he's
they,
a tiefling.
and he is a tiefling.
Mm.
He is a tiefling. There's his icon there. And you had heard that he's, basically been doing a pretty good job in town. Basically has the governor's ear. The governor asks, whenever there's a dispute in town of, so and so, is in somebody's land, or if there's monsters attacking one of the village, one of the farms outside of town, or there's a wolf attack or whatever. He organizes, the guards to go out there and take care of that situation, and basically kind of protects and rules over the town.
He also plays a mean xylophone.
Yeah. He also deals with the yes, that the what the heck are they called? The red I forget the name of them. I can't believe that. Silly of me. Silly.
Oh.
Sorry. I did this last time. For some reason, I know the name, I just can't think of it when the time comes to it.
You get anti-inspiration.
I get anti-inspiration. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's here in our little notes. Oh, the red sirens, of course.
Oh, those are the pirates.
These are the pirates. And they have the red sirens, yes. So he deals with the red sirens as well to kind of watch over and interacts with that organization as well.
Oh. Guess I would go seek him out.
Okay. So he's kind of all the government offices have kind of been moved to where the temple is there. Right outside the temple, there's kind of like a makeshift area there for anybody in town to have, if they have any complaints or whatever. And so you talk to the people and tell them the situation, that you guys have been hired by the mayor, Razan, to investigate the area. You had some questions, yada yada yada. So they let you talk with Advisor Fallon, who's rather tall, distinguished-looking tiefling with a nice set of armor, breastplate on, and a nice two-handed sword, black leather boots, black cape, and asks you what you need.
Well, so as we came to this town of Berem, we encountered a band of ruffians, I would describe them as, along the coast. I believe that they might have been pirates, and they had many trinkets, and of course the little girl that they kidnapped. And I was curious if you knew anything about this mirror or keyring.
He says, no, I don't. No, I don't. These keys do not look familiar. They don't look like any of the keys that we would be using here. They must be for something else.
Oh. And the mirror, the initials MP on it, does that ring any bells?
Could be Marion Price. But she was killed a few days ago. A couple weeks ago, actually, now. Time flies. So it could have been hers. I don't know. Her husband was around town for a while. He was working on the docks for a while, but I think after his wife got killed, he probably ended up shipping out of town. I don't know any other MPs. Doesn't ring a bell, but if you want me, I can hold on to it and.
I suppose it's wrongfully gained. It's probably stolen. I guess you should hold on to it.
Very well, very well. Do we have any news for the governor on any progress on getting rid of the shadows that befall our great town every night. Can
Well,
can I can I inform the governor that the shadows won't be infesting our city tonight? Shall I tell him that?
um, well, right now we have not gotten too much useful information, for there are monsters blocking our way into the monastery, and we had to tactically retreat and recuperate before we died.
Ah, I see. Well, I appreciate any effort you can give the town. Sure, the mayor and myself and all the fine citizens of Bream are counting on you. I'm sure you have many important things to do. I'm glad you spent the time to come talk to me about a mirror, though. So thank you so much for spending your time to do that. I'll be sure to look out for Miriam's husband there and give him the mirror back. But thank you.
Right. It was nice meeting you, and I'll try to walk away before he tries to shake my hand.
Okay.
Oh, he didn't want to shake your hand.
So, any more business?
Actually, Chris wanted to go over to the alchemist's hut.
He is not there. He is dead.
The alchemist
Alright.
is dead.
The alchemist has been killed, I believe, in the earthquake some time ago. So the shop has been kind of disbanded at this point.
I think Kirk said if you wanted like any healing potions or whatnot, you'd have to try and get them out of the guard.
Well, the thing was, I wanted to find out if there was any way to coat my weapons in something or buy certain weapons that would attack these spirits that we encountered, because having my normal bow and arrow is not really doing much.
Well, why don't you give me an investigation check there?
Alright.
You just, like I said, you're having trouble getting any information. You're having trouble just talking to people. A lot of people are scared. They don't want to talk. You start asking questions about, I want to find out. No, they're just not really being very receptive to new people. A lot of them are still mourning. They're still scared. They're not sure what's going on. But just by getting the general gist of talking with people in town, you realize that instead of you talking to them and asking them questions, they would much rather talk to you and get answers than to have you ask them questions. Just because, I mean, it seems like you guys could own this town if you could, if you wanted to, because they're farmers and they're merchants and they're blacksmiths and stuff. They're not armed militiamen. They're just a town out in the middle of nowhere right now.
Alright, well...
And the few magic people that might have been in town, were either killed or left or, just hiding out wherever.
Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the inn then, and, before heading to sleep, I grab a few drinks and kind of eat whatever is there and kind of, regain some energy.
All right. Very well.
Zero is here.
Zero is here.
How's it going, guys?
It's going. How's it going with you?
Doing all right.
Good to hear. So we've basically been spending some time in town. In fact, folks, I'm going to go ahead and bring this episode to a close as our PCs are investigating the town now and trying to get some kind of information to see if anything out there can help them figure out what's going on. But it looks like anything they're going to learn, they're going to have to learn themselves, because the town just is not going to be a good resource for them. But we're going to find out next
Not
episode,
cooperating.
folks, and we'll see how it goes from there. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next episode.